I will start this by saying that no person should do everything.
That's it. That's my intro.
Hey, I'm Amanda, you're watching Swell Entertainment, and today we are talking about South by Southwest that I am currently still at in Austin, Texas. A festival that covers quite a lot. It's an all-encompassing event to the point that since I've been here, most of my friends who knew I was coming have been messaging me like, okay, what is South by Southwest? Because every piece of media that I see is talking about a different industry. So I get the confusion, okay? It started as a music festival and it has since evolved, okay? It's very well known for the music festival still, as well as the film festival, I would say, is where I was the most familiar with it. And then they also have like a culture track, tech track, startup things. They now have a creator economy track that I believe this is the first year they've been doing that. They also have a very big art scene as well. They have a poster whole thing at like Flatstop 93. And basically I've been trying to come to South by Southwest for about 3 years now. The reason I haven't previously is because I forget. It's in a weird spot. I don't know why, it always sneaks up on me. And so previously I would forget until literally people were posting, hey, who's gonna be there? And by that point, it's already too late. It's not a very cheap event, and it's also long. And so for me, because I review the event as a whole as well, I knew I would have to go for as much of it as I possibly could. And so previously, the last minute events, which is what I like to do typically, it's just not feasible. It's a long event. And even then, I ended up coming late to this event. So I bought my ticket. I bought the platinum badge. I do enough of these videos, I should have it in my hand. There's gonna be one consistent note throughout this video, and it's that I'm fried. I'm tired. And I'm not even tired like the event itself is draining. It's just so long. And for myself to be able to try and like go to as much as possible for some reason has just been draining me in a way that most events don't lately. Congrats, South by Southwest. You have found a way to break my spirit of event attending and reviewing, because I'm just over it, you know? Like, it's not exactly like I'm tired of the event. I'm just kind of, why am I still here? Like, if it weren't for the fact that I'm trying to get into a specific movie tonight, I would have moved my flight and left yesterday instead of leaving tomorrow. Okay, I'm filming this now because I'm gonna make sure that this is done so that I can go home and sleep and not think about anything. But yes, I got the platinum badge, okay, and again, I try to get the biggest badge that I can typically so that I can review as much as possible to give you, my viewers, as much information as possible. First things first that I am annoyed by, my city is on here. I don't like that. I try not to talk about this much because I try not to give them attention, but I have dealt with some stalking stuff, and I've moved. I'm very cautious of that, okay? And if it just said LA, that would be one thing. It doesn't say that. It says my actual city, which I was not aware, they did not warn me would be on my badge. Don't like that. Platinum got me into as much as possible, which is why I got that one in particular. The price of platinum, I got it in January, $1,813.19. It's a lot. Why a lot of this, which I did like, is that I never had to be like, oh, can I go in here? Because this just pretty much gets me into everything, which is real nice. There were even some times where they would just end up accidentally putting me in the express line, the SXSW express line, okay, for movies and stuff, because they just assumed that I was part of that, which was nice. Sometimes I did actually have the express pass. This got me into pretty much every single track. It got me into all the lounges and things like that. So you're paying for access more than anything. Even if you don't want to come the whole time, you're paying for access. Now, I got my ticket in January. I honestly probably could have booked it sooner, but this is definitely not something that I would probably necessarily do again, but I also don't intend to do another review of South by Southwest in this capacity. Like I said, I also ended up coming late. That's because my cousin got married, and, you know, there's just certain family things that you don't miss, and what's the point of being self-employed if I can't stick around for my cousin's wedding? I ended up coming out on the 10th, dropped my bags off in my hotel. I couldn't even check in yet, and I just went and picked up my badge. I literally just got to Austin for South by Southwest, and there's already a Cybertruck. It's the wrap ones. Looks good. The main expo hall had a lot of things in it. I believe this was open from pretty much before I got there to the 13th, I believe. That's kind of the nature of this event. There's things happening at different intervals, and it's kind of like a sliding schedule in a sense. So there's usually something happening always. It's a matter of if that something is part of the track that your ticket is included with. Because I have platinum, not only do I pretty much get into everything, I am typically priority access for everything. So for example, the movie I'm trying to go to tonight, Even though I can't get my ticket yet, I'm really hoping that this will get me inside because I'm supposed to have primary access as a platinum badge holder. Same with film and TV, and then music, interactive, X, Y, and Z, all those other people, they also are able to, their secondary access after film and platinum, okay? The expo hall was nice, but it was also like, I don't know, I go to so many events, I was just like, yeah, this is cool, there's a lot of cool stuff here, and what I really like always is I like seeing the international, like, mini pavilions inside of expo halls like this, which they did have, just because other countries are cooler stuff than us. Overall, the hall itself was just kind of like, okay, I don't know, I feel like you could have done more. I don't know what more is necessarily, but it was just kind of like felt lacking comparatively to like other events and things like that I would say like that, which again, I'm comparing like that hall essentially to like, let's say CES or things like that, which is not comparable. Little all over the place, lots of different things, lots of AI. So much AI. Ugh. This week I heard a lot of things about AI that did not make me want to pull my hair out. But as far as how these people speak about AI in a broader sense as a whole versus the actual applications as it applies to them, that's what drives me up the wall. One instance that I heard that I actually liked a lot, which I wish I could have gone to more of the sports track, honestly, but I came kind of late for the sports track, so I only got like 1 or 2 days out of it. But I definitely had the most enjoyment out of the sports track for anything. So definitely, if I were to come back, I would definitely prioritize the sports track more than anything else, frankly. Just because I was enjoying myself at those panels and learning a lot more at those panels than I would say a good deal of the other panels that I went to, including the creator track panels, which we'll talk about that in a second. But one of the sports track panels was about sports betting and the future of sports betting, which I was just interested in as far as, even though I don't really gamble much. But the way they talked about AI was talking about it in regards to how some online gambling sites basically trying to train AI to recognize those irresponsible bets from people with gambling addictions and like the certain sequences and signals that would alert to an AI that would be like, hey, let's freeze that for a little bit type of thing. Very abstract in that regards, but like that's a clear example of like, here is how AI could be a good thing. I was not there, but the Fall Guy premiere that happened earlier this week, they played an AI trailer, which they've kind of been doing it here and there, where like before there seems to be like a new sizzle reel each day, because I've gone to a couple of different premieres or a couple different movies since being here. There's always like kind of like a South by Southwest sizzle reel, and some days it's very clearly like it's taking from talks that I previously watched, I would say that. So they're updating it regularly, or at least they were, or they had to because of the AI response. But they basically played a sizzle reel for South by Southwest that was very pro AI, and people were booing it during the Fall Guy. Like sometimes they say things where it's like, AI makes us more human. Please go touch grass. I don't think it's going to do what we all think it's going to do. I think we have rights to be scared of it because of AI images being made of young people and kids and young girls and content creators and deepfakes and all this stuff. We keep seeing these things keep happening. And that's how this technology is being used. It's not being used to, make media better. It's not being used to make it more accessible the way you guys like to think it is. There is accessibility elements to AI that I do think are legitimate, but not the way that these tech bros are using it. There is a pickleball court at South by Southwest, sponsored by Amazon Pharmacy. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Not the elephant, the U.S. Army. The situation with a lot of bands pulling out. Now, I should note, I am physically at South by Southwest. I didn't see a ton of this discussed here, aside from the fact that on the schedule, there was a bunch of things that were canceled. And I don't even know if those were specifically connected to this, because basically a bunch of bands, a bunch of performers, and a bunch of speakers pulled out of the event because of the Department of Defense's involvement in South by Southwest, as well as the phrase I heard thrown around was a super sponsor, which I don't even know what that means. And if they were a super sponsor, I don't think they got their money's worth, which sounds stupid. I'm just talking about it in regards to how events work with sponsorships. Yes, there was a U.S. Army booth station in the Expo Hall where they did in fact have like bomb robots, which I'm gonna be honest, I didn't speak to them because I didn't want to. People pulled out, okay? So from being here, understandably, which if you pulled out publicly online. Of course, you're not gonna be here talking about why you pulled out. I will say, there was a couple of protests to my understanding, not related to the genocide in Palestine that were happening here. They would usually happen, and then I would show up and I'd be like, what do you mean there was a protest? I don't know if any protest specifically happened in relation to what's happening in Palestine, but I haven't heard about them directly, aside from pulling out. That is the boycott, that is the protest in and of itself, is making yourself publicly pull out. So let me talk about this as well, because the New York Times did an article about this already. This is from Emily Schmall. This is from March 13th. Artists and speakers withdraw from South by Southwest over U.S. military support of Israel. About 80 musical acts, conference speakers, and sponsors have pulled out of the festival in Austin to protest sponsorship by the U.S. military, which has lent support to Israel in the war on Gaza. Dozens of musicians and panelists have withdrawn from the South by Southwest Conference and Festival in Austin, Texas, to protest sponsorship by the U.S. Army and defense companies as pressure grows against the U.S. military support of Israel. More than 80 artists and panelists at South by Southwest have joined the boycott by Wednesday, according to one of the organizers, the Austin for Palestine Coalition. Ibrahim Bastron, a Palestinian American and the chief executive of BeatStars, a digital music licensing platform and longtime sponsor of the Music and Technology Festival, withdrew from South by Southwest after learning of the increased involvement this year of the U.S. Defense Department. The United States is the largest supplier of military equipment to Israel. And that's the overall thing, okay? Because, like, we shouldn't be fucking doing that as a country. We shouldn't be the ones routinely vetoing shit in the UN. I'm just gonna get angry. Okay. Mr. Bastian, who is Palestinian American and also known as Abe, said that 6 of his family members were killed in the bombing in November while taking refuge at a church in Gaza City. When I found out they were going to have a massive presence at the music festival where creatives and young people get together to collaborate and connect, I couldn't get behind that. Lambrini Girls, a queer indie rock duo from Brighton in Britain, was among many of the performers who have made statements on social media citing sponsorship by military defense contractors like Collins Aerospace, RTX, and BAE Systems as the reason they withdrew from the festival. It is done in solidarity with the people of Palestine and to highlight the unacceptable deep links the festival has to weapons companies and the U.S. military, who at this very moment are enabling a genocide and famine against a trapped population, the Irish rap group Kneecap said in a statement. Governor Greg Abbott, Republican of Texas, took a defiant tone in response to the boycott. Bye, don't come back, he wrote on social media. Army Futures Command has been involved with the festival since 2018, but this year is acting as a super sponsor. There's that word, a top marketing tier. Let me see, they have it linked here. Oh, it's a full-on actual, okay. This is South by Southwest website. Super sponsorship, achieve the greatest marketing impact possible. A super sponsorship delivers the highest visibility possible, the deepest integration opportunities, and provides seamless promotional exposure by aligning your brand with South by Southwest as a top promotional partner across the entire event. I believe that, okay, but also, if that's the case, because before all this was shared publicly, okay, and I started seeing bands pull out and all of that, I just assumed they bought a booth. I had no idea that they were like the top sponsor, if not a top sponsor in South by Southwest. I would assume super sponsorship would be like South by Southwest, brought to you by the DoD, you know, like it would be something like that, I would assume. That's where I think I was confused, because I was like, if they're doing it, if this is a super sponsorship, they did a dick job of showing that. You know, that sounds shitty, but I'm literally just speaking from like an event perspective. I don't understand how what the Army got at all would be a super sponsorship. In hours of Mr. Abbott's comments, the South by Southwest organizers issued their own statement saying that they disagreed with the governor, but that inviting defense companies to the conference helped fulfill their mission. We are an organization that welcomes diverse viewpoints, they wrote, adding that the defense industry has historically been a proving ground for many of the systems we rely on today. These institutions are often leaders in emerging technologies, and we believe it's better to understand how their approach will impact our lives. So does the porn industry. Are you guys going to take money from them next? I'm not trying to be flippant. I'm asking a genuine question, because if we're just talking about advancements in technology, the porn industry is also pretty high up there. As far as speakers pulling out and artists pulling out, I kind of can understand it both ways as far as those who pulled out and those who didn't. If you want to just not be aligned at all with something that is taking money from the US government or anything like that, I totally understand that. I also understand the artists and speakers who stayed. More so the artists, I understand more, because for a lot of them, this is their biggest opportunity that they have ever had to perform on a stage like South by Southwest, okay, at a festival like South by Southwest. I understand those who stayed. I did not personally see this. That doesn't mean it didn't happen, but it's kind of the same thing as like people who, rather than just not go to award shows, made public statements. Like for example, Renee Rapp just made a statement at the GLAAD Awards. I know Hozier just performed at Lollapalooza and made a statement on stage as well. I can see both sides of that. Now, I personally did not witness that happening. It doesn't mean that it didn't happen. I just may not have seen the coverage from that. Here on site, aside from like in flat stock, artists were selling posters that were saying straight up Free Palestine. A couple of places around restaurants and places around different theaters that are involved in South by Southwest. People have put out posters. There's a lot of flyer poles, like poles around that are wrapped in saran wrap and are covered in flyers for different companies and things like that. A lot of people have put up things relating to, you know, freeing Palestine and all of that. So I don't want to say there's not a presence here, but it's not as loud as a presence as I am seeing online. And I just want to make that clear. It doesn't mean that it's not here. It doesn't mean that, it just means that I have not personally come across it. I will say that for the last few days, it really has felt like being here still is like being on campus after the last day of school. Like it feels very empty. It feels like I've overstayed my welcome. It's just kind of like meh now. So again, I don't know if that's relating to everything or if that's just because of how the schedule has gone and it's just like way too stretched out, because pretty much everyone that I knew that was here for a particular reason, journalists, creators, just industry people have left already. You know, like they got what they needed and left. Or they never even went to the convention, the festival itself, and instead went to pop-ups and events and other things around the area. They were technically here for South by Southwest, but they didn't actually go to South by Southwest, if that makes sense. Movies. I have seen Musica and Brandy Helville, The Cult of Fast Fashion. Musica is from Rudy, who is actually a former Viner, I should say. It's his first movie, and it wasn't bad. It's a coming-of-age movie about someone who's trying to come to terms with their life and who they are and their future while dealing with synesthesia. A lot of cool things in that movie. I just think the storytelling could have been way more fleshed out. Brandy Helville felt like two very strong documentaries kind of stitched together in a way that I don't think worked really well. One was the Brandy Melville situation. The other was fast fashion and its effect on Guyana. So the ending feels really disingenuous as far as the Brandy Helville side of things. Not bad, just could have been stronger, I think, as two separate dogs.
This dog is barking at the robot and the robot's making a face and literally running away.
Went to a couple music acts yesterday. Getting around to those, trying to find things is difficult. I do wish that the maps were a little more intuitive, but that could just be the way the app is functioning. The app's functionality, I was complaining about it with a couple of people. Stop recommending me talks that happened a couple of days ago. Someone complained to me about the mentor sessions because she got an email like recommending mentor sessions, and then all of the ones for that day were already booked up. So she's like, I would have booked 2 days ago if I had known that that's when I had to book. So some people were talking about wanting more clarity as far as like how things are done. Understandable. One thing that I do want to note is that all of the volunteers that I spoke to have been fantastic. I believe all of them work at the school or at least are local to Austin. Work at the school, are students or at least are local to Austin. They've all been fantastic. They've all been very smiley and happy and very helpful, which is great because I go to a lot of events where the people working there have no idea what's going on ever. So the fact that everyone that I spoke to was actually very informative, something that I didn't like, not relating to, this just made me think of it because one of the volunteers told me why. My bag was only checked one day and it was Austin Day, which was, I believe, Wednesday, where the event was open to the public as far as the Expo hall goes, and then flat stock when that first opened up. And flat stock was always free, I believe, to the public. That's when they checked my bag.
Yeah, they definitely started doing bag checks all of a sudden.
I don't know why they started now. I'm really curious why they started now. Okay, update. So, because of Austin Day, there's more people, so that's why they're doing bag checks. So it's open to the public. And then Flagstock, that hall, is open to the public. So that's why they're doing bag checks, just because it's more people. But previously, they weren't doing bag checks because people are here for work, so they're just like leaving their bags at home is the assumption.
Somebody's coming here for work can also come in and start shooting people. I'm just saying. I'm telling you, I've seen a very clear correlation between raising mask mandates and safety at events and security checkpoints at events, and I'm really worried about something really bad happening. Not trying to manifest it, just saying I'm noticing signs. Let's talk about the creator track. So 2 days ago was when all this happened. I called people after I went to these panels. And I was like, am I just being a bitch? Like, am I fully I'm trying to understand if I'm just being an asshole. And I'm realizing now, yes, But also, it was driving me nuts because it's really hard to listen to someone be wrong about the industry that you are in while portraying themselves as some form of an expert of your industry. And so that is incredibly difficult to listen to. I'm sure there are times where I've spoken about topics that I don't know fully about for various events I've been to that have made you guys upset. Totally understandable. To be in the room and listen to a panel called De-Influencing the Future of the Creator Economy and have the panelists who are all identifying as influencers or content creators seemingly not understand how YouTube works or functions as a platform physically made me ill. I was trying to be patient because it's like, okay, first year, I believe, of the creator track. Basically, it was a bunch of creators that I believe were in their late 20s, early 30s, or just 30s in general. And then someone from vidIQ was monitoring it. vidIQ, I have an affiliate link with them, link down below. Not promoting it here. I'm just making a note of like why I'd be like, oh, but you've worked with vidIQ. You know, yes, I have never worked with this person in particular, but they're a YouTube plugin. So I was like, is no one going to correct this woman? It sounds mean, but like they were talking about like all of them had experienced burnout from content creation and influencing. They were using it interchangeably, which was what came up in the question later, but they all were kind of demystified by platforms at some point. So one of them was talking about how that she stopped doing TikTok and started doing Substack, and how Substack felt like it had kind of blindsided her because now they're promoting, you know, follower accounts and DMs and things like that. And she's like, now I don't want to do Substack anymore because it's become like every other social media platform. One of them wrote a book. They were basically just talking about like what's next going off of platform for creators, specifically for like content creators going off of platform, which I think you mistitled that talk then, because the future of the creator economy, sure, that's an element of it, but also the creator economy by nature involves being a creator for these platforms. You're a content creator, you are making content. That is the nature of the content creator space. During the Q&A section, which all of the Q&As that I went to, I need some of you to start being meaner, these moderators. This guy from vidIQ, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name. He did catch up a second and then was like, hey, I'm sorry, what's the question? So much self-promotion. So much self-promotion. Do it the old-fashioned way at this festival, okay? Go and talk to people. Go to a lounge and network with people in there, okay? Don't get on the mic when we have literally 5 minutes left in this room and be the first question and spend 30 seconds telling me about your dumb company. I'm sorry. No. Tell people no. This is not your open mic. Do you have a question? But someone else who got up there was like asking a question. He's like, hi, I'm a content creator, which I tried to talk to him afterwards, this guy, because he was very well spoken and I wanted to talk to him about like his content because it sounded like he was kind of doing like TikTok, like social media commentary on TikTok. So I was like, cool, like wanted to go talk to him. But then he was talking to Ned Fulmer. And I was jump scared and I left the hall because I was like, but he's like, you guys are using influencer and creator interchangeably. How do you define them differently? And the vidIQ person was like, oh, we've been caught, haha. And they kind of flipped it around back on the question asker. How do you identify the difference? He said that influencers are more product-based and promoting products, whereas creators are more content-based, quality content-based, essentially. And so they have more longevity in their careers than, say, an influencer does, because the influencers have to constantly be chasing trends. And that's what leads to burnout. That's what leads to their audience outgrowing them and moving on. They went back and forth about that, but what got me is one person on the panel said, well, how are creators making money if they're not taking money from brands? At which point I verbally said YouTube. I want to make it abundantly clear. Hi, yes, I do brand deals. I don't know if there's one on this video. There might be, okay? I record them after the fact. But you fully can be a content creator and not do brand deals if you really want to. It does limit the amount of money you make, and it will limit the amount of stability you can get from your content when you don't take money from brands. But you can do it. I know quite a few content creators that are YouTubers who do not take any money from brands whatsoever. It is much more precarious for a content creator because, like I said about Patreon, YouTube can demonetize your channel, demonetize your videos, X, Y, and Z. Same with Twitch, but it is doable, okay? And when I tweeted that out about how this creator track panel person apparently doesn't know that YouTube works or whatever, I had a couple of people message me. It's like, I literally don't do brand deals. I do affiliates on occasion, but like most of my money comes from AdSense. Merch, crowdfunding from your audience, there's a variety of things. So I was just like, that physically made me upset. So that was the end of that talk. They ran out of time. But after that talk, I went to another that I was like, let's see how this goes. And it was how short form content can 10x your startup. And it started with short form content. Can I get a raise of hands of who in here understands what that phrase means? And I literally wrote in my notes, I was like, this is not for me. This talk is not meant for me. Basically, they were showing the difference of like how content can affect your brand. And one was a Ford ad and another was a, hey man, what do you do for a living? To a man in a truck. And the guy happens to be the Ford CEO. And I was like, are they saying that you should do undisclosed ads? Because like that guy was paid for that video. I don't know if you can guess this, but I'm assuming that's what they were getting at. Now, they didn't show the caption, so I'm hoping he put hashtag ad, hashtag partner, Ford partner. I don't know, something, okay? But I really hope that after I left, they weren't just continuously advertising for working with doing undisclosed brand partnerships. No, I went to another one that was another full haul that was at the same time that was about micro creators and creators who don't identify as creators and how they led to the boom of the Stanley Cup. These are just casual users. And this person, I believe, worked with LinkedIn, or sorry, I keep doing that, Linktree. And because a lot of their stats that they were pulling from were from Linktree. Most of the people who made content relating to the Stanley Cup did not make money from the Stanley Cup, which one of the photos that she has was literally Olivia Rodrigo. So I was like, that's not a micro creator. I'm confused. But also like those people that were getting it was because content creators were influencers on TikTok or big TikTok people were getting it. So it's like, there is a trickle down element that I don't think was being acknowledged in this panel. But basically she was talking about how can brands get access to these micro creators that are driving the bulk of sales? The answer is affiliates. And I left when she was like, oh, well, affiliates, there's usually like limits for how many followers you need to have in X, Y, and Z. And yeah, that's partially to make sure you don't just have anyone signing up for affiliate details for whatever reason, but it's also because companies don't want to pay out to everyone. Yes, it would be great if more people were making money and more creators were making money from different brands and promoting their products and things like that. Unfortunately, we are seeing in the worst case opportunity, I would say, of that for TikTok Shop, where literally everyone is able to be a shill for a product and that becomes their whole identity on TikTok. For the most part, most companies don't want to just work with literally any random body on TikTok to give them money for promoting a product because that cuts into their bottom line. Like, that's the end. Okay, now again, I could just be being a bitch. Feel free to let me know what boosts me in the algorithm if you want to comment down below that I'm being a bitch. I literally was messaging people that I know in the creator economy and other creators being like, please sign up to do a panel or something next year because I need more qualified people on this. Like, I need more people that I know their stuff because this is painful. That's not to say that there wasn't good talks on the creator economy track. I just missed a lot of them, it seems. There was a good panel talk about empowering Asian creators that I caught, but I did know someone on the panel, which is why I went. We'll see tonight if I make it to that movie that I want to go to, because if I don't make it in tonight, I'm going to be really upset.
All right, I just came from the Idea of You premiere at South by Southwest. No one is more shocked that this is a good movie than me, okay? I'm like literally messaging my friends who ran 1D fan accounts being like, it's Brigatou, it's good.
Would I come back? Yes, I would definitely come back in a much more limited space. I wouldn't come back for a review. No one is meant to review the entirety of South by Southwest. Even journalists I know who were here to do write-ups on it are not here anymore. So it's like they came for their particular beats and left. Understandable. I would not do this all again. It's been very profitable for me, I will say that, because I've gotten 3 videos since I've been here that are not just the video you're watching now. I'm sure there'll be more because I have to go through all of the random things that people have handed me from booths and things like that. I have to sort through that. Maybe there'll be another 5-6 videos based on South by Southwest. So as a business expense, this has been a very good trip. I'm so spread thin though, I'm just over it. Would I do the platinum badge again? I do think it's worth it for what it is if you want to get into as much as possible. I do think though, you shouldn't do that. You could still have a good time at this event without the platinum badge. I will say that. Have you ever heard of South by Southwest? Have you ever been to South by Southwest? If when I said I was coming to South by Southwest, you were like, okay, cool. But then you saw me posting from it and you're like, what is a Swell ad? What is going on? Let me know. Comment down below. Reminder that I now stream on Twitch. Reminder that Swell Entertainment is now available on Spotify. Reminder to use code SWELL to get 10% off gamer subs. Shout out to my patrons. Thank you so much for supporting on Patreon. You can also support on Patreon levels down below. I just want to go to social media. That'll be up here. And that's going to be it. Have a lovely day. Goodbye. Maybe I do need a nap.
Thank you, Oz, Eva, Ayana, Abby, Angel, Goth, Glynn, Palace, Pink, Jasmine, Lauren, Amy, Aslan, Medic, Rosie, Victor, Andrew, Tenzin, Sam, Mae West, Michael, Ryan, Adira, Nathan, Zwink, Literal, Jeffrey, Randy, QWERTY, Nomad, Thomas, Tasha, Donnie, Winter, Kenny, Robert, Cameron, Elliott.